Good morning and welcome to Funky Rainbow's Spooks and Smiles Book Bazaar. It's a splendid, spooky, smiley Saturday for us here, and you all know that that's because it's Halloween and we are celebrating with books, ghostly, ghastly, and books with all kinds of, spooks and spirits in them. So I hope you're, ready for a morning of spills, chills, thrills, and smiles. Yes, we can see many of our favorite friends, already putting up their hands, already saying good morning to us, and really a special and spooky, smiley good morning to you, Joanne Saldana. We just love it when you're there, right there, waiting for us. Divya Menon, you too, with Avyukt and Ameya Nair. What a pleasure to see you here right at the start of our show. So, as I said, it's Halloween today, and in keeping with the spirit of things, so to speak, we've got ghosts and witches and goblins, and and simply because ghosts and spooks are common to all cultures globally, we also have asuras and rakshasas and yakshis and vetals in our collection of spooky books. Spooky books, but many of them, spooks with tons of smiles. So, for those of us who don't like to be scared, as, Muttama has said always, and she did make this post yesterday saying that she's probably going to be monitoring behind the scenes in the show, sitting under a blanket, maybe, she doesn't want to be exposed to all the ghastly and giggly ghosts that we have lined up for you. So, as always, the books, there's a huge clutch of books that we have out, on our website. This is, the website is www.funkyrainbow.com, and, click on the tab that says Buzzaar, and, there'll be a drop-down menu that says Spooks and Smiles. All the books that we have up, at our bazaar today, a lot more than what we're going to be able to talk about. They are on the, just 1 second. I'm sorry for the interruption. Seems to be some problem with the live session. Sham, is there something that needs to be checked? Okay. So Sham says there's a ghost that shifted the computer just right now. We don't know what's happening, guys. All right. So if we morph or shape shift, if things or disappear right out of the blue, don't blame me. It's a spooky, and Divya Menon says same pinch, Muttama, and there it is. Folks, it's a spooky and smiley Saturday morning, and anything, just anything can happen at our book bazaar. Like I said, ghosts of all shapes and sizes, all smiles, ghosts from different cultures. So there's ghosts, goblins, witches, rakshasas, yakshis, and somebody, when I told a very good friend of mine from school just a couple of days ago that we're going to do a bazaar that focuses on spooks. She said something really interesting, and I just thought it's such a lovely thought. I must share it with you. She says, do you realize that so many of us grew up listening to ghost stories of all kinds, basically, right? We had somebody telling us these stories, or we read a lot of these stories, and if you do remember right, ghost stories literally brought us closer, right? I mean, I do remember sitting huddled with my cousins when, some latest episode of the Vikram and Vetal stories would have been narrated by one of my aunts or my parents, or some, the story of some blood curdling, ghostly sounds emerging from somewhere. And I do know all those lunches and dinners were consumed without a whisper and listening to all agog to the to the ghost stories and what is happening in that story. So let me begin with my recommendations. Seema Karan says, where's the horn, Vidya? My God, Seema Karan, you had asked where's the sari. Now you're saying, where's the horn? You know what? You were going to, ask you to be our brand builder, I think, right? Just the right things. We are costume design. Muttama says you're the official costume designer. We are, scrambling all our book collections together that we completely forget about all these trappings. I know, a couple of weeks ago, Joanne Saldana too said she wants Funky Rainbow mugs so she can watch the Buzzaar sipping green tea or any liquid of choice or preference while watching our Buzzaar. We need some brand consultants, we need costume designers, and we just love the way everything is going as far as our book bazaars are concerned. So, let me start off with our recommendations for the day. But before we begin, let me say, be prepared to be spirited away, folks. All right. So we start with the first book of the day, which is aptly named, and hold your breath, folks, Tuck Tuck. How many of you have heard tuck tucks in the night when you're trying to go to sleep? I can bet you every single one of of course, I can see Joanne says, yes, t-shirts too, notebooks, pens. You're so right. We really do need this brand consultant. Joanne, you are here with, I mean, I don't know how many roles you can fill for us. You can be the book consultant, you can be the brand consultant. Really, we would love, more and more of you to help us get the show together, so to speak. Really, we would be delighted for that helping hand. And of course, like I said, back to my first book for the day that has a lovely, apt title, Tuck Tuck. And there it is up on your screen. This ghostly book, should I say, by Soumitra Ranade and illustrated by Shiloh Sulman, which is all about these sounds. There is this visitor, there is a visitor who comes to a little village, and he doesn't have a little village nestled in the Sahyadri Mountains, and the little village is called Nani Khet. And he has to stay the night. He doesn't have a place to stay. He is obviously from the city because of the way he's suited and booted. But I'm afraid Nani Khet is so tiny. Nani Khet is it's a little dot on the map, and there are really no hotels. So what does he do? He asks and of course the visitor, he is Zahir. He asks Vishwarao, the tea seller, where can I stay for the night? Are there any lodges? Are there any hotels? And he says, no, there is an abandoned mansion, and that's the only place that you can use. And the abandoned mansion is called Diwan Khana. You can see these collage style illustrations, really add to the spookiness quotient of the story. And I hope, you can see them quite clearly, because everything has these sort of swirly mists and, the tones of browns and blacks that make it very, very spooky. Of course, Zahir, goes to the mansion and decides to sleep for the night. But, thank God there is a tuck tuck that he hears, and he never stops hearing it in the course of this marvelous story. And the thing is, what happens to his imagination? Zahir is convinced it's a ghost, and it starts with one simple tuck tuck, but goes on to so many loud echoing tuck tucks. What do you think? Do you think Zahir has a good night's sleep? He's a guy from the city, so he wants to get to the bottom of this ghostly mystery. Is it really a ghost? I'm not telling. You need to read this beautiful book written by Soumitra Ranade and illustrated by Shiloh Sulman, which has really beautiful collage like illustrations published by Karadi Tales and priced at 175 rupees. Now, for the benefit of a lot of our friends who join us on Instagram, a very, very good morning to you at Spooks and Smiles Buzzaar. I hope you're all ready to, be spirited away. I want to say that this is a 2-hour show, and we have different segments in the show. There is a segment where we make all the recommendations. Then there is a section where we bring in a guest, which happens at 12 noon. And today, that is really special because two wonderfully smiley books are getting launched at Funky Rainbow. They're the official launch of two lovely hook books. And then we have a small segment of the new arrivals on our shelves. Now, the thing is, we can't play this out continuously on Instagram. So for those of you who are watching us on Instagram, if you have, if you can watch on Facebook or on YouTube, both going under the name Funky Rainbow, you'll be able to see the show continuously. If you can't, then you'll probably see it in bits and pieces, but you can always go to our YouTube channel and watch it. And of course, like I said, the theme being all things ghostly, ghastly, and giggly. My next recommendation is, a book that features a vampire. And I'm sure many, many of you have already guessed what it is. Yes, indeed, it is We Loved Garlic by the wonderful Richa Jha and illustrated by Kunal Kundu. Now, this is one of those giggly, ghostly stories, basically, right? I mean, because we in this book, the book begins with V getting a taste of her first, garlic sandwich, and she absolutely chomps away on it, is delighted and enjoys eating it. The taste of the garlic sandwich in Vee's mouth, the sandwich just melts, and it felt so divine, really. And what was the problem? Why did that matter? So what? Lots of us love to eat garlic sandwiches, really, don't we? But alas, Miss V. Nooney, who's the protagonist of this lovely book. Joanne, you say, I love We. This was my Halloween read for my grades 2, 3, 4, and it was an absolute hit. It is such a wonderful book, really. And like I said, what was the problem with a girl called Miss V. Nooney falling in love with garlic? It was the fact that she was a vampire. Oh my God. And for all of you watching, I'm sure vampires and garlic are like Mutama and ghosts, basically anathema to each other. Now, what happens really, right? Now, once she goes home, her parents are absolutely aghast that she has eaten her parents and her siblings completely aghast, about the fact that she's tasted her first garlic, and they're determined to keep her away from it, come what may. But we have strong heroines in Indian children's books, and this is actually, even though it features a vampire, finally a story of conviction, perseverance, and determination. Now, what does we use her conviction and determination for? You'll have to read this lovely, lovely book to find out. And what is particularly attractive about this book is that, while the illustrations tell you the story, in part, the illustrations also give you so much information. For instance, look at this spread that I'm showing you. There is this one where, and so began the lesson. So they have somebody who's coming to teach her, what is fatal for vampires and what is not. And then the author doesn't write the rest of the doesn't write those lines, but it's written right up on that blackboard, which has a really funny sign: what every vampire should know. Garlic is bad, scratch, fatal for vampires. I mean, a lot of the story is carried forward in the illustrations, and that's such a wonderful way to get young readers in. We would recommend this one for kids 4, 5+ years in age, as we would Tuk Tuk as well. Tuk Tuk is a little bit more text heavy than We Loved Garlic, so we would say Tuk Tuk definitely for 5+ year olds. This one, since it's not so scary really, but features a vampire, you could read it to younger kids, 4 years as well. But kids that are, like Joanne says, grades 1 and 2, who will enjoy reading this delightful tale of love, conviction, and perseverance. This one is published by Pickle Yoke Books and priced at 350 rupees. All these books available at special discounted prices at our Spooks and Smiles Bazaars. So do check out, our website, www.funkyrainbow.com. Click on the link that says Bazaar. Go to the drop down that says Spooks and Smiles. For an entire week, all these books are available at special discounted prices. Our next recommendation is this lovely book from Tulika, and it's called Pintu and the Giant. Now, of course, traditionally in a lot of in many mythologies, many cultures, giants are kind of scary people. We're all scared of these tall, towering, big people who seem to want to do the very things that you don't want to do, basically, right? I mean, we do know giants are featured in so many fairy tales. This one, though, is an interesting story in the sense that it's about a little boy called Pintu who typically walks home from school every day. Now, he's usually not worried at all because he's walking back home with his friend, but today, this particular day, Pintu's good friend Raju is not with him, and he has to walk back on his own. Now, as he starts, he gets a little delayed in school because there's some work that needs to be done. And as he starts walking back, the sun is slowly starting to set, and Pintu is slowly, while the sun is sort of setting, the fear in his heart is slowly rising. He's afraid, he doesn't, everything that was so familiar and so comforting suddenly looks rather spooky and rather scary. So what does he do? There's a Shiva temple at one corner, and he says, well, if I get there, then home is just a little, further away, and I'm sure I can get there really fast. And he decides to walk through. Instead of taking the regular path, walk through some maize fields, which are rather squishy and squelchy. And as he's walking, his legs seem to be sinking in a bit into the sand. Gosh, what a perfect setting to be in, for a spooky tale. And as he's walking, he says, gosh, I can't see the temple. The maize crops are so high, and I'm dead sure I've lost my way. As he makes his way out of the field very slowly and gingerly, suddenly he feels himself being lifted up out of the blue unexpectedly, and he is petrified. And that is indeed a giant who lifts him up. Gosh, what happens to Pintu, guys? This is a giant who wants to eat little boys, and this little boy absolutely offers him his lunchbox, saying, "You may be happier with my lunchbox. I didn't eat lunch at school." Does the giant, agree to the offer of eating up lunch, or does he ask for something else? It's a great story about how often, more often than not, what we fear is in our heads. A lovely, a little picture book that we would recommend again for 5+ year olds, written by Sulabha Dev Purkar and illustrated by Ashwin Chikkerur. This one is published by Tulika and priced at 150 rupees. I hope that makes you feel suitably spooky. I can see Soumya Ravindranath says, we loved garlic. There's so much to love in that wonderfully smiley story of a determined vampire girl, really, right? We hope you're all feeling suitably spooked out. Just check behind you to see that there's no shadows or nothing that is going bump, basically, because our next recommendation for the day is the night monster. Guys, open out those curtains, really. All right, we have Muttama's opened all the doors and windows at our office, so you know that the spookiness quotient is really rising at the office. Well, this one, a fantastic book by Karadi Tales, very well suited for young readers because it's all about being scared of the dark at night. So the hero of this book is a little young boy called Avi. And Avi is such a chirpy, cheerful boy by day. He loves, a brave boy by day who's willing to do anything that anyone asks him to do. But by night, it's a different story altogether. And by God, Archana says, must tell you, I read V with my nerds on Valentine's Day. That is the spirit, girl, literally, really, right? Spook them out, but really, that's not at all a scary story. I can imagine your lovely nerds enjoying We Loved Garlic. It's such a layered story, and, so much more to it than just V being a vampire. To come back to the night monster, so Avi, what does he do? He has a lovely sibling, an elder sister called Swati, and he goes right up to her and tells her, Joanne, you say, I love this book. Such a great big sibling. Truly, truly. What a wonderful bond between brother and sister in this lovely book, The Night Monster. So Avi goes to Swati and tells her, there's this monster who scares me at night. And Swati says, I have an idea. Why don't you make a drawing? And you can see these excellent illustrations by Sanket Petkar, adding so much to the mood and ambience of the story. So she says, why don't you draw the monster on a piece of paper and lock it away in the box? That way your fears will disappear forever. And Avi, like a lot of children who love to draw, starts to draw the night monster and locks away the drawing in a box. But hey, Padma Baliga says, happy spooking, Team Funky. Welcome to the Spooks Party, Padma. And we are absolutely, hoping you're all ready to be spirited away as well. Of course, after Avi draws draws the monster and in the monster and puts it away, it's nighttime again, and he comes running back to his sister and says, "The monster is back again." And you know what? She's such a lovely sibling. She says, you know what? Maybe the monster's not getting, the message by way of drawing. Let's write letters to the monster. And the book has such a delightful format. There are a couple of pages where you see Avi has sent a letter, and you can lift these flaps to actually read the letter that Avi and the monster exchange between each other. It's a fantastic book, for young readers, and especially if you want to tell them that there's really nothing to be scared of at all in the night. A wonderful book. And, like Muttama says, even the cover is rather spooky with this big owl staring right out at you. And really, I would say haunting illustrations that perfect picture book for young readers. This is a hardback edition and priced at 399 rupees, available at special discounted prices at our Spooks and Smiles Bazaar. Our next recommendation is a splendid book with a fairly serious theme, but which features ghosts. This one is called the Amuchi Poochie, written by Sharanya Manivannan and illustrated by Nerina Kanzi. It's so beautifully illustrated. I've just got to show you a couple of spreads from this gorgeous book. And as you can see, look at the colors, in the way Narina has illustrated, the pages on this book, truly stunning. And it's a very, very poetic book. So it's about these two young kids called Aditya and Anjali who love their grandmother's stories, particularly one story that she tells them over and over again about a tree with a ghost on it. And I'm telling you, my gosh, these grandmas, they really know how to turn the heat on when they want to spook their grandkids out. Because look at this spread, grandma's eating pan, and so her lips are all pan stained, and when she's narrating the ghost story, positively looks quite scary, really, right? And in fact, it's so nice that the kids say, gosh, our grandma, she really does look a bit spooky. What she's doing, she's telling them the story about this tree, and what she's asking them to do is to look at the tree, to look at the mangoes and to look at the parrot, but to look at two white patches that seem to be staring back at you. What is that? Is that a ghost? What's going on? And you know what? The parents hate it that the grandma is spooking the grandkids out, but we love this grandma who is spooking the grandkids out. Of course, the story takes, Padma Baliga, you say Amuchi Poochie is simply beautiful, especially the illustrations. Yes, these stories that grandma tells them, taking the kids on the wings of fantasy. So even if they're scared, they're huddled together and they're listening to the story. But the story definitely goes on to take a more serious tone, because in, a couple of, after a couple of months, the two children lose their grandmother. But what a beautiful, so it is eventually a story about a very moving story about bereavement, but it's also about healing, and the tree and the ghosts plays such an important part in the healing process. And of course, it's stories above all that heal. This is a beautiful book, so many layers, so many nuances in it, and these gorgeous illustrations by Nerina Kanzi, who's an award-winning Argentinian Vanita Bankian. You say so nice. Yes, it is really a wonderful story. And I think, children 6+ age, we would recommend it for children 6+ years, or even maybe 7+, depending on their reading abilities. We do, books are such a wonderful way of dealing with difficult themes, and they really do help, I think, all of us make more sense of their lives, really. So Nerina Kanzi is an award-winning Argentinian illustrator, as is Sharanya Manivannan, a wonderful writer for adults. And I think this is her first picture book. And it features a ghost. The Amuchi Poochie, priced at 199 rupees and published by Penguin. So that is, a more serious story, but quite a spooky one, which I think kids and adults will enjoy. We have a quick pack of books from Pratham. We have 4 of them. And since we have so many books up there to recommend, I'm just going to quickly show you the covers of the books that are in the pack, and I can see the one that comes up is so aptly titled Book of Boots. Well, ladies and gentlemen, be prepared, and children, be prepared to be introduced to boots of all shapes, sizes, and proportions in this wonderful book by Shabnam Minwala. And there's another one called the Big Book of Buchandis. And we know Buchandis are typically the bogeymen, from Tamil Nadu. And what of these Buchandis who are supposed to be in all shapes and sizes and are meant to give children a fright, or should I add adults and children a fright, basically. So there's Big Book of Buchandis in this pack as well. There's Who's Afraid of the Rakshas Sweetie Man by Ranjit Lal. And in fact, these books have been written by such wonderful writers. Book of Boots is by Shabnam Minwala. Big Book of Buchandis by Pavitra Shankaran. Who's Afraid of the Rakshas Sweetie Man by Ranjit Lal and illustrated by Lavanya Naidu. About these two children who are terrified of the Rakshas Sweetie Man. What does, look at him, and what is it that's terrifying them about him? Well, it looks like he wants to eat puppies. Ooh, really. But be prepared to find out whether he really does. And one more in the Pratham pack by Ramendra Kumar called Paplu the Giant, illustrated by Zainab Tambawala, which is about a gentle giant. So this is a spooks pack from Pratham, 4 books, 4 spooky, not so spooky, smiley books, which I think children between the ages of 5 and 8 will certainly enjoy. And of course, all adults who love things that go bump at night or in the day. Our next recommendation is, and we rarely recommend activity books, but this one called Monster Garden is by the inimitable Jerry Pinto and Priya Kurian. My gosh, what bizarre, Jerry Pinto has the ability to write about all things utterly cracked and make them so delightful. In fact, the book starts with him introducing himself, and this is how it goes. And look at that spread. The book is in black and white because children can color in, children can draw in their own monsters, and this is Jerry's own description. Jerry Pinto, who be he? He be as fat as a bumblebee. His skin is purple, his eyes are pink. His voice is all a tinky tink. His toes are prawns, his legs balloons. His ears are golden tablespoons. Shayani Basu says, yay for Jerry and Priya. A big yay going out to you as well, Duckbill, for bringing out these fantastic books for young readers. His neck is squiggly, chin is flat. Now go and draw someone like that. Wow, wow. We would just, I can't tell you how many children we've seen filling in these drawings over here. And the book, which of course then goes on to feature delightful monsters, all of which you have to draw. The child has to draw, the adult too. For instance, the first monster that features in the book is, look, what do I see? There's a scrumpylicious under that tree. What is a scrumpylicious or a scrumpylish? I'm getting this pronunciation right. Scrumpylious. Tickle. There are different kinds of monsters. There's a tank stomper that comes right up, and there are these wonderful descriptions, and you are going to have to draw them. Look at the lovely settings for these monsters. I particularly love this potty monster very, very much. You know what the potty monster is called? A Chapati Hoover. I'm not telling you why that one, the monster is called a Chapati Hoover, but look at this gorgeous spread where Priya Kurian and Jerry Pinto have imagined delightful monsters that are, that are all figments of their imagination. This is a wonderful draw it yourself picture book, and we definitely ask you to introduce these monsters who are all 100% chuckle inducing monsters, we invite you to bring your children into this beautiful monster garden. This one's priced at 150 rupees and available at special discounted prices at our Spooks and Smiles Bazaar. Before I get on to the next clutch of recommendations, perhaps I should say a quick round of hellos, or maybe I'll do a couple of more while they're getting, the list of hellos ready. But I'm going to move to some simple books, chapter books. Preeti Ramchandran says, Happy Bookie Halloween to all. Yes, eek, shriek, smiles aplenty, spills, thrills, chills, and everything to you, Preeti Ramchandran. Thank you for joining us at the Spooks and Smiles Bazaar this morning. We are, of course, going to move to a wonderful hook book by Hansta Sawendra Shekhar and illustrated by Anupama Ajinkya Apte called Who's There? Of course, it's only a matter of reading it out in a particular way for you to wonder who's really there. And you know what's happening in this story? There are cats mewing away in panic, and these cats who live on an attic, there are strange voices calling from that attic. So who's really there? Now, of course, it's the story of a farmer and have cats and kittens, all of whom sleep in the attic. But suddenly, one day in the middle of the night, these cats started mewing away. And everyone knows, cats never mew without a reason. The farmer and his wife are, of course, dozing away. And as you can see, this lovely emergent reader's book, large illustrations and, only a few lines of text and fairly large font size, making it perfect to be read to children, for children between the ages of 5 to 7 years to read it. But these ages, they're all just figments of our imagination. When you're reading with the child or when the child's reading herself, whether they are, whether they really are enjoying and are able to read these books. But I do think the hook books, certainly making a lovely option available for children who are moving from chapter books to from picture books to reading books with more words and sentences. So what does the farmer do? He wakes up and he shines a flashlight and he goes to check what's happening in the attic. Of course, the cats are mewing. Divya Menon says, our first hook book, it's hilarious. It absolutely is. That's why we say this is a Spooks and Smiles Bazaar. So seeing that the cats have sort of become quiet, the farmer and his wife go back to sleep. But the very next day, the cat slowly starts bringing down each and every one of its kitties down from the attic. What's going on, folks? You have to read Hansda's charming book, Who's There, to find out. And we can assure you there's quite a nice desi booth tucked into these pages. So there, guys, priced at 175 rupees and published by Duckbill. Our next chapter book is, a writer whom all of you are familiar with, and we have picked up Ruskin Bond's The Wind on Haunted Hill because there's nothing more than the sound of the wind to make you feel like life is just spooky. And this one is, a wild, wild wind. It blows here, there, everywhere on Haunted Hill. And Haunted Hill is where this story by Ruskin Bond is set. This one is illustrated by Jeet Chaudhary. And it's about three kids, Usha, Suresh, and Binya, who live, in a village just by Haunted Hill. One evening, Usha's making her way back from the bazaar when there's a deep rumble that echoes down the slope and a sudden flash of lightning. Guys, this could be Bollywood, really, right? And hero and heroine could break out into a song on Haunted Hill. But I'm afraid that's not what happens. It starts raining, and Usha has to run into a ruined house on Haunted Hill. What happens? Does Usha, and of course inside the house there are groans and shadows, and there are creepy crawly things all over the place, and Usha is really shivering in fright. But does Usha make it back home? It's a Ruskin Bond story, so I'm not giving you anything more away. It's a gentle, ghostly story, if there really was a gentle, ghostly one. A lovely one that introduces young readers. Again, as you can see, lots of pictures and fairly large text. So this one, certainly a nice spooky story. Shantanu Datta Gupta says, hello everyone. Absolutely a big hello to you, Shantanu. Thank you for joining us at the Spooks and Smiles Bazaar. So this one, eventually a story of friendship, of courage, and written in Bond's inimitable style, priced at 150 rupees and published by Penguin. I'm going to recommend two more books before we say hello to all our guests. And this one of our favorite whole books, called The Monster Hunters by Parinita Shetty and illustrated by Pooja Potankulam. This one is a terrific story about Abhay and Nitya, who decide that they are the monster hunters. And what do they know? They know that there are monsters living under every child's bed. And you know what they're going to do? They're going to go out and find them. You better join them in this monsterlicious adventure. Again, the hook books, the whole books are one notch higher than the hook books, and we would say perfect for 7 to 9 year olds. But again, Vijay Lakshmi Nagraj, you say hello, Team FR, Halloween treat coming your way, spooky pumpkin rolling in from a scary haunted house. We are absolutely ready, Vijay Nagraj. Send them our way. All right. And Muttama assures you she is not going to talk to you anymore, and she's already cowering behind her laptop. But this wonderful book by Parinita Shetty, perfect for 7 to 9 year olds, with still lots of pictures but more words than the hook books, making it ideal for them to read. The story is delightful, it's charming. It's got parents, it's got friends, it's got disbelieving parents, and friends who decide to do things together. How perfect is it to set off on a monster hunt? I think there'll be many children who embark on such a monster hunt after reading Parinita Shetty's lovely book. One more recommendation before we say hello to everybody and invite our guests onto the show. This one, brand new on our shelves, called Spellbound by author Nalini Sorensen and illustrated by Subhadeep Roy and Shiladitya Bose, is a lovely, we have it because it features a really terrible witch. She is atrocious. If there's a word for the witch, she's an atrocious one called Veona. There's a prince, there's a princess, but this, my dear friends, is a fairy tale completely remixed. So, yes, somebody gets zapped into a frog, and happily for us, Nalini's charming writing style, it's the prince who gets zapped into a frog. Who comes to the prince's rescue from this wicked witch? And do they live happily ever after? Well, be prepared to meet spunky girls in the course, a very spunky girl in the course of this wonderful chapter book called Spellbound. Again, meant for 7 to 9 year olds, we'd say, depending on their reading levels. There are large illustrations, and this story of Veona, Petunia, and Prince Frederick is a wonderful modern day fairy tale that's going to make you laugh, that's going to make you wonder if there's a witch somewhere up in your attic, and it's going to make you look at fairy tales very, very differently. So, lovely new age fairy tale that I think young readers will thoroughly enjoy, with a Nalini Sorensen's trademark humor peppering the pages. This one is published by Scholastic and priced at 195 rupees. So I'm just going to say a quick round of hellos. Hello, Joanne, Divya Menon, Seema Karant, Asha Nehmaya, we're waiting, Padma Baliga, Jyoti Narayan, Saumya Ravindranath, Archana Atri, Vandana from the Banyan at Chennai. What a pleasure to have you on the show. We just admire the work that the Banyan has done across the ages, and we are so delighted that you have joined us at Funky Rainbow's Buzzaar. It's such a pleasure and such a privilege to have you here with us this morning. Yamini Vijayan, hello. How nice to see you at the Buzzaar. My nephew Rohan, who possibly read more spooky stories than a young boy should have read. Hello and welcome, and who now can possibly keep the ghosts at bay for me because he's a strapping 18-year-old right now, not that worried about ghosts. Wonderleaf Club, Uma, Kokila, Jaunty Tales, Jasmine, Nia Creations, Renu, Pammani, Mamta and Aarti. What a pleasure to see you here this morning, ladies. Karti GP, Rahul, Bhavna Kittur, Sneha. मैं हूं अप्रैल, पर हम तो नवंबर में पहुंच गए और हैलोवीन में पहुंच गए. थैंक यू फॉर जॉइनिंग अस. मैं हूं अप्रैल. गोनी बहल फ्रॉम कनाडा, पृथ्वी 2313, Popeye 3774, the nestery.in. What a pleasure to have you here at our bazaar. We love it when independent booksellers who are doing this in every nook and corner of the country join us, and very, very warm welcome to you at Funky Rainbow's Spooks and Smiles Bazaar, the Nestery. Vanita Bankian, Shayoni Basu, what a pleasure. We can't wait for the next part of our program, and we have to thank you for the wonderful books, many of whom we are recommending at our bazaar today. Preeti Ramchandran, Moon Mitra Das, what a pleasure. Shantanu Datta Gupta, hello again. And yes, Vijay Lakshmi Nagraj, big warm welcome. We're waiting for them spooky pumpkins. Send them over. Reading is transcending. Okay, reading is transcending. Foodie Oven, my gosh, we love. Foodie or Moody, is it? Foodie over Moody. We love that name. Everybody needs to be more foodie than moody, frankly. Thank you so much, all of you, for joining us at our wonderful, Spooks and Smiles Bazaar this morning. Lots of spooks and lots of smiles tucked away in the course of these recommendations, and we'll hopefully have time to do some more after we bring in our guests for the day. Before I, invite our guests in, I want to say that this is the first time Funky Rainbow is launching two lovely books. Sunila Kulkarni Gupte, you say, hello, FR. What a pleasure to see you here. Sunila, thank you for joining us. I want to say this is the first bazaar in which Funky Rainbow is launching two wonderful and delightful hook books. And the two hook books that we are launching for the day, where are my books? And the two, lovely books that we are launching, the ghost has taken it away. Good God. And the ghost has brought it back. Thank you so much, guys. There is something spooky going on at our office. It is absolutely a pleasure to launch two wonderful hook books by two writers whose works we absolutely love. We welcome very warmly, very smilingly, and very spookily Asha Nehmaya and CG Salamander on to our Spooks and Smiles Bazaar. Guys, there. We don't know who's the one behind that mask. Hello, Asha, and hello, Salamander. What a pleasure to
Hi.
have you at our Spooks and Smiles Bazaar. I was just going to tell our viewers, and there's so many of them waiting to, be part of this launch, that everybody goes trick or treat at Halloween. All the tricks have come this far. The treat is right up here at this wonderful book launch, by two. Joanne Saldana says, "Yay, Asha! Yay, Andrew! Salamander, I'm sorry." My mouth is sealed. Yes. You can send a hex my way, Salamander, if for having given away a part of your name only, really. But such a pleasure, really. I think, to introduce Asha Nehemiah would be, only a ghost would need to find something that we can't tell about Asha. And, Salamander, Shantanu says, hello, Asha, and hello, Salamander. Delighted to be at your book launch. So, Asha has these marvelously funny books for children, and like I've said many times, has been part of every adventure and venture that Funky Rainbow has tried in the last 7, 8, 9 years. I mean, she's certainly one of our most spirited supporters, quote unquote, basically. And, introducing Asha has so many lovely books to her name. I think most of you watching are familiar with almost all the books. Now, Shayoni says, nice mask, Asha. Wow, that is one hell of a wonderful mask for COVID. Preeti Ramchandran says, Aunt Malu, we love you. There goes. Do I even need to introduce these marvelous writers? Vijay Lakshmi Nagraj says, hi, Asha and Salamander. I'm telling you, I'm going to retire. There's enough, introductions coming your way. But Asha, with a gamut of books, from picture books going up to books for emergent readers and, books for middle grade readers, all funny, all delightful. Salamander too, with a wonderful repertoire. He's very quiet, but my gosh, he's got so many laughs and spooks too. He has a book that we're going to recommend later in the bazaar that, I tell you, it just freaked me out. And I certainly love ghosts, really, right? So there's an anthology to which, Salamander has contributed called Horror. And good God, that is one story. His graphic, work in that story, graphic story in that anthology, enough to make you really scared, enough to make you jump out of your pants, really. But Salamander too, with many books, picture books, and he has, graphic novels. He has books for middle readers. And today, the two of them here with us for two delightful treats, two lovely, funny hook books. I'm going to, this is, of course, so many of you saying that you're excited to be part of a launch. And we really wish this launch could be, in the real world and not over this ghastly internet. But, the internet has made it possible for us to do very, very many things. And I would like to just say, a couple of words about the lovely hook books without showing you the books that are going to get launched today. So many people wishing you guys a happy Halloween. But this set of 4 books, Who's There, which we recommended as part of the bazaar, Hey Diddle Diddle, A Quiet Girl, and My Daddy and the Well, wonderful new additions to the Indian children's publishing space, really making a great niche. In fact, these books were launched pretty much when lockdown, when lockdown happened, and we were, oh my God, is it going to not sort of, is it going to get lost by the fact that a lot of us don't know how to showcase these books? I have to say they've simply flown off our shelves. And a big shout out to the publishers, one of whom is here today, Shayani Basu, for creating this excellent niche of books in the Indian children's publishing space. Shayoni, I'm sure what I say is going to make you feel quite happy, or at least I hope it's going to make you feel quite happy, despite lockdown, despite opening up only in early June. 200 copies of all four, between the four hook books have just flown off our shelves. Call it the blessings of the ghosts, but my God, these lovely, wonderful books, really fulfilling a very, very important niche for emergent readers in India. And for those of you who don't have the hook books, I would urge you to certainly pick them up. They're available. They're great Diwali gifts. They're great Christmas gifts. They're great Eid gifts. They are great anytime gifts, basically. So please do consider picking up the hook books for children in the ages, say 5 to 7 or maybe even 8 years, but you can well read them for younger kids as well. And with that, we get into launching the two new ones that are, joining this wonderful clutch of books. So I'm going to ask Sham to get started with something lovely that we have lined up for the launch. No. Yes, the videos, huh? Okay. Well, yeah. There's a ghost in our office, like I told you. Yay! Yes, that was a video. And there's another one for, Moo Done It. Yay!
Yes, now the two books, Mood on It and the Grand Chapati Contest, have officially been launched.
Yay! Thank you. And the credit for those wonderful stop animation videos goes entirely to Aaron Sham Clark, Funky Rainbow's official mascot, and hopefully the one who all our collateral designing going forward, given how difficult his dad is generally, right? So Anam Fatima says 3 cheers for Aaron. And with those two videos, the books are officially launched. So Asha and Salamander, did you like those videos?
Lovely, fabulous.
Loved it.
So lovely little videos to launch the book. And like I said, a very, this is our first launch. Shayoni Basu saying, woohoo. So there you go, Aaron, your video is getting a lot of appreciation. And we have decided that this entire launch should really be led by children. And it started, Archana Atri saying, fabulous, Aaron. It started with Joanne Saldana says, this was fabulous, Aaron. And many compliments coming Aaron's way for creating these stop animation videos for us. Now, the thing is, to carry the launch event forward, we still, are not letting go of the kids' full belief in child labor we have at Funky Rainbow, putting the kids to work to do stuff for books. And I would like to invite onto the show another lovely 9-year-old child who has been a huge follower of Funky Rainbow's bazaars. We don't know what ghost has gotten into his head, really, but there he is. I would like all of you to put your hands together for Avyuk Nair. And when we said that the two lovely hook books, the Grand Chapati Contest and Mood on It, were out, we had this wonderful, voracious reading child tell us that he's going to quiz Salamander and Asha. And I was like, wow, this is great. Our job is entirely done. We will let Avyukt grill the two authors, asking them some questions. So, are you ready? Welcome, Avyukt, and thank you so much for joining us at the Book Bazaar.
Hello.
Hi.
A happy spooky morning to everybody at the bazaar.
Only spooky,
And
but
thank you, Vidya Auntie, and everybody at Funky Rainbow for giving me this opportunity to be here. And this is the first time I'm not just watching the bazaar, but even being in it. and also being the first time being part of a book launch, but not one book launch, two book launches.
Avyukt Nair.
I'm super duper excited to talk directly to these two amazing authors, Asha Auntie and Salamander Uncle. Without wasting any more time, I would like to ask a few questions for Asha Auntie and Salamander Uncle.
Sure.
Are we ready?
So
Shall we go
my
ahead?
first questions are for
Okay.
Asha Auntie. And before I ask the questions, I just want to let Asha Auntie know that I read so many of her books.
Oh, lovely.
And they are all super duper hilarious.
Thank you so much.
And my first question for Asha Auntie is, when you think of a story, the characters in the story, are they based on real people, or you just made them up as the story went?
Well, there is a lot of real people in my books, but they would never be able to recognize themselves, because what I actually do is to kind of create a bhel puri of the characters. So I would take one from one character, one bit from another character, and create a new character. And finally, sprinkle on a lot of masala, exaggerating things to make them really funny.
Okay. So, Asha Auntie, most of your books, the characters have some funny, hilarious titles. So, how do you come up with such funny titles for the characters?
If you notice, most of the characters who have funny titles are the villains. So I like to give villains the funniest possible names so that they are equally funny. So there's been characters like Bambaram Jones and Khabardar Khan. And I think I really am not very sure how I come up with these names, but I love making my characters funny and memorable.
And Asha Auntie, if you had a title for yourself, what would it be? For example, I love making titles at home for myself and my sister. For example, for me, I would be the chief masala powder, because I would love crushing red bricks into masala.
Okay.
But my sister, she would be chief destroyer. Destroys everything. So what would your title be?
Can my title be Chief, One and Only, Cake Eater and Chocolate Taster? Is that too long?
Okay. But I was thinking about one more title for you.
Okay.
Chief Funniest Title Maker.
Thank you. Thank you.
Nice.
So thank you, Asha Auntie. And now I like to ask the question I've been waiting to ask to Salamander Uncle. And I'm sure most of us are very curious to know. Why have you called yourself Salamander? Are you really one?
I could be. There's a smart answer and a dumb answer to this. I'm going to give you the smart answer. The dumb answer is something.
Okay, any answer will do.
So, the scientific or Latin name for a Chinese giant salamander, that's what the CG stands for, happens to be Andreas Davidinus, which is very close to my real name, Andrew David. And that's why it's CG salamander.
Oh. Wow. That's why I was also wondering why CG.
Yeah.
So that means it stands for Chinese giant salamander.
Yep, that's right. It's a species of salamander, and it's the biggest amphibian in the
It
world. And
seems
they're quite
it's
ugly.
the biggest. It's good. And in your story, Moo Done It, the main character is a cow. So, do you like cows more or salamanders more?
I like cows more. 100% I like cows more. And anyone who knows me knows that I'm obsessed with cows and I chase them around. And yeah, so yeah.
Just like my sister, he's just
The worst comparison possible.
I'm going to take it as a compliment.
And coming back to Asha Auntie, so Asha Auntie, the funny parts in your story, have they really happened to you or you just imagine them?
Well, some of the funny parts have happened, if not to me, to somebody in my family. For instance, in one of my stories, there's a hair oil which behaves in mysterious ways. And somebody in my family did have an experience like that. So some of it is based on things which have happened, things I've read. A lot of it is just tempered by my imagination.
Oh, okay. So that means it's both.
Yes, it's both.
And on similar lines, I would like to ask Salamander Uncle a question. So, Salamander Uncle, when you were writing your book, Moo Done It, did you keep a straight face and finish it off in one go, or you took breaks to laugh?
That's a really good question. And I was laughing like an idiot throughout, but I did finish it in one go. So the reason the book came into existence is because my girlfriend once found a cow stealing vegetables. Oops! Oh my god! I just gave away. But yeah, so and that's kind of how the title came to be, or the book came to be.
Lovely.
And for Asha Auntie, so Asha Auntie, once you finish writing a story, who is the first lucky person you narrate the story to at home?
At home.
It should actually be my children and grandchildren. But I actually give a draft of the manuscript to my husband to read because he's been reading my stories for over 30 years. So he's kind of in tune with what I want to do. And for second, I give it to my children to read.
Okay. So that means you have two.
Yes.
Two first readers. So who's the first reader if there are two?
It's my husband who reads first.
So Asha Auntie, coming back to your story, what made you think about a chapati making contest?
Well, it just starts with the fact that I'm just dreadful at making chapatis. I find the aspect of making chapatis, right from making the dough to rolling it out, I find every aspect just defeats me. So I thought make a story of this. And the reason I had to set it in a palace is who else but a king can be so fussy about his chapatis, and who else but a queen can order a chapati contest. So that's what made me write the story.
So thank you, Ashanti, for answering my questions.
Thank you. Thank you, Avyuk.
And I have a couple of more questions for Salamander Uncle. So, Salamander Uncle, what makes a story a good whodunit?
So, I think you need to place your clues beforehand, and you need to sort of work towards the unraveling of the mystery. So you need to give your readers enough, and you need to sort of give them enough to sort of figure out the mystery before the book shows or reveals what the mystery actually is. And I think that's what makes for a great whodunit.
And my last question is, could you share with us any funny incident that happened during your childhood where you come up with a solution or solved a mystery?
Oh wow, that's a really tough one. Let me think. Childhood mystery solving. Um, so yeah, there is one story where in Kodaikanal, my cousins and I were very convinced that there was a ghost. It happens to be a horror story because this was like in the mid '90s, I think, and we had watched The Exorcist.
Oh God.
And for anyone who has been in Kodaikanal, you know that it's airy, it's quiet, and it's something us city folk are really like taken aback by. And we used to have these dares where like you would go outside the house and you would have to like touch a tree and come back to something. And in retrospect, it's a really stupid mystery that we solved, but we went out and the door sort of clicked behind us, and it was a self-locking door, and it really freaked the heck out of all of us because we were out there in the open. We thought that that something had happened, that the ghost had locked us out. We were like knocking on the door. It was late in the night. uh, yeah, and my aunt and uncle weren't happy at all. They were very upset. So yeah, that's one mystery solved.
Oh my.
Yeah. So thank
That
you,
is just
Ashanti
lovely.
and Salamander Uncle, for answering all my questions. And thank you, Vidyanti, once again. And before I say bye-bye, I want to tell all my friends who are watching the show to quickly go and get their copies of these two great books for a hilarious time.
Yay!
Right?
Thank you.
That was lovely.
Thank you so much, Avyuk. I tell you, this whole launch has absolutely been, taken charge of by kids, and they could do such a good job of it, really. So a big, big shout out. Kavita Prasad says, "Thank God, I will never have to be interviewed by this super smarty." Gosh, you don't know, Kavita. There are many, many stories right in you, and you don't know when it's going to be yours. Salamander Uncle, a possible new pseudonym, Joanne Saldana is saying, really, is it Salamander Uncle? Really?
I'm contemplating
Archana
it.
Atri, wow, interesting. Thank you for unraveling this mystery for Avyuk. That's about your name, Salamander. Everybody was really curious. All the questions pretty much, come up, that Avyuk himself came up with, especially, we love the one about, do you like salamanders more or cows, basically, right? But it is the books are to all our audiences who are watching. We're going to have short readings from each of these books just now, but like Avyuk says, two delightful books, the Grand Chapati Contest and Moo Done It, just such hilarious reads that will brighten up your day. We love it that Moo Done It is set in Tirunelveli, What a lovely setting for a story. We love the characters, we love the constable, we love the girl Ammu, and we really love the fact that the story is so wonderfully set in a lovely South Indian town. Salamander, we don't get that many books, that have these, and you have brought alive the cadences of the little town, the things that they do, and also the characters themselves and their setting, mood done it. Certainly, the kind of who done it that all of you should be reading. And there is the Grand Chapati which has Asha's trademark humor, with a contest for chapatis being announced simply because, the chief chapati maker of the king of this kingdom decides to quit his job and, mind you, ladies and gentlemen, take sannyas. Moral of the story: don't make chapatis, otherwise you may be forced to take sannyas. But the kinds of chapatis that get made subsequently, my gosh, and with tons of Asha and Hemaya's trademark humor, these two books definitely, will brighten up any reader, young or old's day. So please do consider picking them up from Funky Rainbow's Spooks and Smiles Bazaar. They are available at special discounted prices. We are just going to play a lovely video that Asha has shared with us before she gets on to reading a small excerpt from the book to give you a taste of that chapati. There it was, Asha. Would you like to do a quick reading from the book?
Sure. So, the Grand Chapati Contest. There once lived a happy king who hardly ever felt sad. He was not upset when the chief polisher polished his golden crown with black shoe polish by mistake. He was not upset when his children used his silver hairbrush to brush the palace dog. There was just one thing that made the king unhappy, and that was when the chapatis he ate were not made perfectly. So when the palace's chief chapati cook left his job to become a holy man, everyone was very worried, because none of the other cooks in the royal kitchen knew how to make the soft, perfectly round, fluffy, puffy chapatis just the way the king liked. All the other cooks were too scared to even try making chapatis. They knew bad chapatis made the king very unhappy. And I'm just going to skip a little bit to show you this wonderful illustration by Chetan Sharma, the illustrator of this book, who's done such a fantastic job. So I'm going to take you to the chapati making contest. And as we enter the palace grounds, we see hundreds of cooks making all sorts of chapatis. There were butterfly-shaped chapatis, carrot-colored chapatis, and spinach-flavored chapatis. There were chapatis stuffed with raisins, chapatis layered with butter, and chapatis as fine as muslin that one could actually look through. And I just want to say to Avyukt, like, if you have a family like his where you have a younger sister and an older sibling, these books are absolutely perfect because you can read them out aloud to the younger sibling, and then a child who's ready to start reading independently, the parents read along with the child, and slowly they just draw the children into reading on their own.
Absolutely. How lovely. I hope you have a taste of this, had a taste of this delicious chapati. I have to add that in these COVID times, all our copies of the Grand Chapati contest, and I hope Moo done it on Monday, have autographs, ladies and gentlemen, and that is a really, really special treat in these COVID times. Asha has autographed each one of the books at Funky Rainbow for us, and Salamander's going to give us stickers that we can use on the book with his autograph, which will be with us either today or on Monday. A wonderful opportunity to really gift autographed books to your children. Thank you for that wonderful reading, Asha. We are going to play Salamander's video, for the book. And believe me, we're going to play it a little bit slowly because you have got to see this absolutely hilarious video to know where Salamander gets his quirky sense of humor from. That was just spectacular. We love the stellar cast of this film, Salamander. There was Warren Bence. I don't know whether, Sham, you can actually show people the cast of the thing. There were just such delightful bovines, that had us all starry-eyed. Salamander, we do know that cows are absolutely your favorite. We're going to Divya Menon. I'm so glad to have met Salamander Uncle here. He is so funny and hilarious. Hooray for you. And really, that video was just delightful. We're going to, Joanne Saldana says she just loved it. Yes, that stellar cast. We want their autographed Salamander, right? We're going to ask Sham to quickly, Grey Stroke, I'm sorry, I'm making this mistake over and over again. We're going to ask Grey Stroke to read a small extract from Salamander's book. And may I call you, Grey Stroke, to leave everything up there and come and do a quick reading from Moo Done It.
I'm back. And I read to you today from Moo Done It by C.G. Salamander and illustrated by Aindri C.
Do you have to hold the book ulta?
Amu's parents woke up at exactly 3 a.m. every morning. They fought over whose turn it was to make tea. They fought over the bathroom. And they fought over who would ride the scooter to the market. Every morning, they left their tiny town to travel all the way to Tirunelveli and returned to Valiur with sacks of potatoes, tomatoes, beans, greens, gourds, yams, and peas. They first arranged the fruits and vegetables on their cart. Then they napped by the cart until the first customers of the day woke them up. One morning, Ammu woke up and made a shocking discovery. Amma! Appa! The cat! She gasped. Tomatoes, tomatoes, fresh tomatoes. Ammu's parents woke up with a jolt. It took them a few seconds to realize that it was Ammu who had woke them up. Amma! Appa! Someone stole all the vegetables. Ammu's parents were heartbroken. Police! Police! They yelled. They continued to scream even after Constable Aya arrived. Someone stole all our vegetables, Appa said. They dropped from the sky, stole all our vegetables, and flew away in a helicopter. He looked at his wife. There is no other way someone could have stolen from us without whacking us up. He twisted his mustache proudly. Amma nodded her head and agreed. Ammu walked closer to the car to look for clues. All at once, she noticed something. Now, I can't reveal what that something is, and you have to find the book for that. Sorry.
And that was a delightful reading from Andrew's really book, Moo Done It. So, ladies and gentlemen, that was our first launch at Funky Rainbow's Book Buzzaar of these two lovely books by two wonderful writers, Asha Nehemiah and C.G. Salamander. We'd like you to put all your hands together. It's not at all easy, I'm sure, to have written the book during lockdown, to launch it during these strange COVID times, but these two authors doing such a wonderful job. Thank you, Asha, and thank you, Salamander, for joining us.
Team Funky Rainbow.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Hello? Can you hear us? I'm sorry, I thought we, lost you. Thank you so much to Andrew and Asha for joining us. And because it's a spooky sort of morning into which you've added smiles, we are saying this again. Please pick up these wonderful books from Funky Rainbow. We call it the buy or the fi threat. We're going to send some hexes your way if copies of the book, autograph copies of these wonderful books are not picked up. But believe me, it's going to make your day and the day of any child. Joanne Saldana, you say, what an absolutely fun and engaging launch. Thank you so much for supporting us. Congratulations, Team Funky Rainbow. And a big round of congratulations, Divya Menon. Where is your musical instrument? She's asking the storyteller where his musical instrument was. Grace Stroke, you're just delightful. Kavita Prasad says, thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us at this wonderful launch. Soumya Ravindra Raj says, what a riot this session is. Lots of people saying Vanakkam to Grey Stroke. Hello, Grey Stroke, for reading. Thank you for reading the book for us. And thank you above all, especially to Aaron Sham Clark and to Avyukt Nair for simply brightening up the launch in no way that us adults would have managed. So really the biggest round of applause to the children. And if those of you who noticed that charm, Greystroke was holding the book ulta and reading, that is his secret superpower. He can actually make sense of books when they are read ulta, basically. But thank you so much for joining us here this morning, both to you, Asha, and Salamander. We will get back to our bazaar, and really a big thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me.
So there it was, the launch of two lovely new hook books. Congratulations again going out to the publishers, Duckbill, an imprint of Penguin Random House India. So especially to Shayani Basu and her team at Duckbill for coming up with these lovely books. You have to read all of them to enjoy them. And like I said, such perfect gifts they are, so wonderfully priced. Please do consider picking them up, and you will get autographed copies of the Grand Chapati contest and Moo Done It if you buy them from us, and available at special discounted prices at our bazaar till next Saturday. So thank you so much to everybody, and we go back to some more spooky recommendations. So get ready, ladies and gentlemen. We're moving into the slightly more spookier stuff. So get ready, ladies and gentlemen, to get well and truly scared. All right. But before we get into the really, really scary books, there were a couple of chapter books that we wanted to recommend. There is Bukasura and Kubandi by the lovely Arundhati Venkatesh and illustrated by Priya Kurian, which is the story of the kind of monsters that we love in our lives. This one is a strange, many-headed creature called Bukasura, who makes an appearance when the hero of this story, Bala, visits his grandparents' house. And what does Bukasura want? Well, he sounds quite a lot like the team at Funky Rainbow. He wants Bala to supply him with a steady stream of books. Can Bala run out of books? What will happen then? Will Bukasura eat Bala up, or will Bala be able to save himself? We have one, helpful tip to send Bala. Come to Funky Rainbow. You will never run out of books. Neither will Bukasura, nor will you. And there was a delightful sequel that came, that she wrote called Kubandi, again about a book barfing monster. Nice and delightful monsters, these two, essentially. So not so scary, certainly. Of course, we can't go off without recommending one of our favorite books at Funky Rainbow, Ghosts Don't Eat. And this is the one and only Anushka Ravishankar's wonderful book from the Zen and Anna series, illustrated by Shiloh Sulman. Now, what is it? Zen and Anna are the best of friends. And you know what happens? They, do so many, many things together. What happens in Ghosts Don't Eat? Zen makes a new friend. And guess what the friend is? The friend is a Game Boy addict. He just loves playing on his Game Boy. Now, what happens when Nikhil goes there? He finds that there's a strange creature that inhabits Nikhil's house. What does he do? Anna is, of course, a bit miffed because, suddenly Zen's more interested in Nikhil. But Zen comes right back to Anna and says, my God, there's a strange creature in that house. And we have got to, look for clues, and we've got to find out what that strange creature is. And indeed, Zen and Anna do find that strange creature is none other than the ghost. But what is the ghost doing? The ghost might be eating every single thing up. Oh gosh, what a delightful tale. You can see again in this chapter book with, lots of illustrations by Shiloh Sulman and, text that makes it suitable, we would say, for, 7 to 9-year-olds, even older, even younger. Like Asha made a valid point that, these books sometimes can just be read aloud to younger children, and, older children can read the books themselves. So Ghosts Don't Eat by Anushka Ravishankar, published by Scholastic, part of the Zen and Anna series. There are 2 other books. This one is priced at 175 rupees, and Bukasura is priced at 195 rupees. We have a clutch of 4 books, next. that all have the same ghost story. And this one is a wonderful favorite from the from Indian folklore and Indian story, from the Indian storytelling tradition. This story of Guppi and Bagha Bain. My God, what a fabulous ghost story it is! And we have 4 books. This one, by interpreted by Gulzar. In fact, we just have a single copy of this one. And I really, if Shantanu, you're watching, please, get your folks to reprint the book. I believe it's not in print because this is such a lovely interpretation of the story of Goopy and Bagha, and Bagha, who are banished from their village and meet each other in a dark forest. Why are they banished? Because they are cacophonic. One is a singer and one is a drummer. And I have to tell you, Satyajit Ray's movie, because the story was written by his grandfather, Upendra Kishore Radri, and Satyajit Ray's movie, on Goopy Gain Bagha Bain has you in splits and, occasionally feeling rather scared. Gulzar has recreated that cacophonic singing and, drumming so beautifully that when they're banished to a dark forest, they meet up with each other. And what do? They're scared because the forest is dark and there's all kinds of creatures around them. There are little eyes that they can see on trees. And what happens is they decide to sing. Shantanu Datta Gupta sure will look into it. Thank you so much. This is what we love. And if this is our last copy, guys, but when Shantanu says yes, no ghost can stop him for sure. All right. So the thing is, the two of them decide to sing duets, in the jungle to keep the ghosts at bay. But guess what happens? The ghost is so taken in by their music. And he wants them to perform a rock concert for them, really, right? And therein, the wonderful story of Goopy Gain and Bagha Bain, they do perform for the King of Ghosts. The King of Ghosts loves the performance and sends them back to their village with some special boons. But when they come back to their village and, suddenly appear in front of the king thinks of them. Oh my God. For what happens next, you have to read the different versions of the story that we have. We have this one called Magical Wishes, The Adventures of Goopy and Bagha, written by Gulzar and illustrated by Shilpa Ranade. In fact, we do know that Shilpa Ranade, made this into a film for Karadi as well. So there is the Satyajit Ray movie, but also the movie that Shilpa Ranade and Karadi Tales made. There is another version of it, which we have. In fact, there's a brand new Speaking Tiger version called The Adventures of, Goopy the drummer and Bagha, Goopy the singer and Bagha the drummer. This one is brand new and it's a fantastic, translation by Tilotma Shom. So these two versions we would pick for the younger readers because they are heavily illustrated, and I'm showing you the illustration from Gulzar's rendition. The one that Speaking Tiger has done as well is, equally would work for younger readers. We have another version from Penguin, which is meant for readers 9+ years. And this one is translated by Swagata Deb. Also a fantastic story of, Goopy Gain and Bagha Bain. And one more in keeping with the theme of this bazaar, The Magic Shop, classic stories of magicians, wizards, and spellmakers. And this one too, amongst the various stories of magicians, wizards, spellmakers, and ghosts that it features, also features the stories of Goopy and Bagha. Why do we love this wonderful edition by, Talking Cub, Speaking Tigers, children's imprint? It has a rollicking introduction by none other than Subadra Sengupta. And believe me, you will be laughing grinning like a Cheshire cat while reading Subadra's wonderful introduction. So there are, of course, stories of from Edward Lear. There's Lewis Carroll. There's L. Frank Baum, and there is, of course, Gopi and Bagha from Upendra Kishore Roy Chaudhary. So 4 versions that feature the Gopi and the Bagha. Sorry. Sandhya Rajgopal, you're asking us for the title of the Gulzar book. It's called Magical Wishes, The Adventures of Gopi and Bagha, written by Gulzar and illustrated by Shilpa Ranade. Our next book that we're featuring is a wonderful one for Halloween. I mean, it's not really about Halloween, but it's about fear, especially about how, for most of us, or for all of us rather, that fear is in our heads. And this one, a beautiful story by Bhaju Sham, the Gond artist Bhaju Sham, by Geeta Wolf and Andrea Anastasio, is a fantastic psychological exploration of fear. What is it? It's the story of a young boy called Musa, whose mother can't go to the jungle and gather firewood because she isn't feeling well. And you can see these excellent Gond illustrations by Bhaju Sham, adding so many layers to this gorgeous book. So Musa sets out and goes into the jungle to gather firewood. Now, what happens as he goes with his axe over his shoulder and he's humming a merry tune? It's cool and lovely and dark inside the forest. And just look at these beautiful spreads. I mean, there's so many things that children and adults can find in these pages, not just because of the text, but also because of the illustration. Suddenly, Musa hears a giant crack and boom. Yes, Joanne Saldana, such a stunning book. It indeed is. And such a book with so many layers of meaning. We rarely, have books like this in the Indian children's context. And this is certainly one. On the face of it, it is a simple story of a boy going into the jungle to gather firewood. But what a beautiful exploration of fear. And when everything goes crack and boom and crack like this, Musa is petrified. He runs into a hollow, into the large hollow. He first thinks it's wild boar, and he's really scared of the wild boar. And he runs into the hollow of a tree. My gosh, what follows later? And it's such a gentle story. It's not some heavy, exploration of fear, but eventually every reader, whether he, child or adult, will be left with the feeling that, fear begins and ends in our own heads. Fantastic book. Please do consider picking it up. It is, not just a picture book. It's a work of art published by Tara and priced at 375 rupees. We move on to a couple of more books, for you. And there is this lovely one from the Karma series called Karma Meets a Zombie by Ivan Purcell. It is such a lovely, there is another book in the Karma series, which is the first one, but this one can be read independently. And it's all about a young boy called Karma. What happens? Karma defends his village from monster creatures and from the forces of darkness. He's not the bravest or the smartest kid, but he always tries to do what is right. But one day, one of his classmates shows up at school, and he shows up at school as a zombie. He's turned into a zombie, and Karma knows he's got to stop his friend, because who can, if not Karma, who can? But now, is this zombie really dangerous? Can he cast a spell on Karma? What a delightful adventure this is. Karma and his friends working together to solve a mystery, to discover magical secrets, and to find answers to all the questions, that not just they, but all the people in their village have. A wonderful read that young, readers 9+ years of age will certainly enjoy. And like I said, this is the second one in the Karma series by Ivan Purcell, and we really hope he's going to write a lot more. This one, published by Duckbill and priced at 250 rupees. The next book in the series that we wanted to recommend is a lovely school mystery called The Strange Haunting of Model High School. And really, we've got so many wonderful books for middle readers that, feature ghosts of all shapes and sizes. This one by the lovely Shabnam Minwala is a fantastic story set in a boarding school, in a school. And there's just something about schools that boarding schools that lend itself so well to, that lends itself to be haunted so well, really. And guess who the ghost in this strange haunting of Model High School is? There are three friends. There's Lara, Malika, and Sunu, and they are three best friends forever. Now, there are people, there's a lot of inter-school, there's a lot of rivalry going on between, children in the school as well. But there is a ghost as well. And the ghost, to me, seems like a British style ghost. It's the ghost of a girl who studied in the school very, very, very many years ago. And I think the ghost is called Emily Sandhurst or Emily Sanford, I think. And, what do the three best friends forever do to rid the school of these ghostly visits? It's a wonderful book. Shabnam Minwala writes really well, and it's sort of haunting, moody, eerie kind of setting is surely going to have young readers 9 to 12 or 10 to 12 positively thrilled and excited. This one, published by Scholastic, is priced at 199 rupees. And what must the girls do? It's not just the ghostly visit. Somebody is trying to sabotage the school play as well. And so many delicious, spirited mysteries that need to be solved. Our next recommendation is, again, a writer whose works we positively love at Funky Rainbow. This is Subadra Sengupta with her collection of mostly ghostly stories. And what are the ghosts in this collection? There are angry ghosts, there are whispering ghosts, there are social media ghosts. Wow. And we do believe they exist, certainly, right? And what's more, there are ghosts that lurk inside books. Beware, all of you that are, ordering these books. And Subadra, being Subadra, who writes these delightful food stories, there is a wonderful ghost that, wonderful or not so wonderful, I'm not going to give that one away, who lurks inside a pot of biryani. Guys, watch out for your lunch. This is an excellent collection of mostly ghostly stories, some of which will give you the goosebumps, but many of which will give you the giggles. This one, published by Talking Cub, is priced at 299 rupees. An absolutely wonderful Halloween read, if ever there was one. The next clutch of recommendations is a set of 2 flipped books, and many of you are familiar with these books. So I'm just going to quickly show you the covers of the 2 books. So there's ghost stories and there's adventure stories. I said there's a ghost in our office, and it's the ghost of mismatched reflections, I'm assuming, basically. So there's ghost stories and adventure stories in a flipped book. And I've got to tell you, children just love the idea of these flipped anthologies, because one half of the book has ghost stories and the other half of the book has adventure stories. This one of scary stories and funny stories. And we've got some of our finest writers contributing to these anthologies. There's Jane D'Souza, there's Chatura Rao, there's Sampurna Chatterjee, there's Aditi Rao, there's Nalini Sorensen, there's Devika Rangachari, there's Soumya Rajendran, Ranjit Lal, Vibha Batra, Tanushri Singh, Maria Coelho, Lavanya Karthik. The list is endless. These delightful flipped books, both published by HarperCollins and priced at 225 rupees each. Just the right kind of mix and match of fun and scary stories and ghost and adventure stories. Next recommendation, which is this, and we did say that this anthology had books by some of India's loveliest writers for children. And here's one that one of them has done solo, called Super Zero and the Grumpy Ghosts by Jane D'Souza. Her Super Zero series, and there are 3 books in the series, all of which can be read, singly. Super Zero is such a super hit amongst young readers in the ages of 9 to 12 years. And what is Super Zero? Super Zero is everybody's favorite superhero. And what happens in this mystery? He runs smack into a bunch of ghosts who grumble, howl, steal things, and have so much fun haunting different places. They're having so much fun that they just won't go home. So it's up to Super Zero, to save the day, because there's also suddenly in that town that's being haunted by all these ghosts, in the place that's being haunted by all these ghosts, suddenly car tires are getting stolen off and various things go missing. Things are going bump at night. What does Super Zero have to do? Are the grumpy ghosts going to help solve the mystery of this villain who is stealing car tires among a whole host of other things? It's a installment of Jane D'Souza's books, series, Super Zero series, and this one that features grumpy ghosts is particularly spooktacular. We have our next book, and we would recommend this for 10 plus year olds. Look at the covers, ladies and gentlemen. That's Bad Moon Rising. Really, Muttama already wearing her shades, saying can't look at the cover. It's the Puffin book of mystery stories, and it's got an introduction by Ranjit Lal, so many familiar names, and with wonderful stories by Satyajit Ray, Anshumani Rudra, Monideepa Sahu, Sonia Chandrachud, Sri Kumar Varma, Poili Sengupta, Deepa Agarwal, Payal Dhar, Geeta Doctor. Such a stellar cast of writers that have these really, hair-raising stories of murder, mystery, mayhem, just, the kinds of stories that will have your hair standing on the edge. It's a great spookylicious stories to sink your teeth into. And Bad Moon Rising, we would recommend it for all, for anyone 10 plus year olds, especially for scaredy cat adults. Come on, face the spooks and get rid of the fear, really. But I'm telling you, you might just end up locking your doors and windows and reading this wonderful collection of spooky stories, priced at 199 rupees, recommended for 10 plus year olds. We have this one too, which was Divya Purandar. Wow, such interesting recommendations for the older kids. Yes, we are, as you can see, speeding and spooking our way through the recommendations, because a lot of people have told us we simply get stuck with the picture books and chapter books. And happily, there's so many wonderful books for adults, for older kids, in our collection. So this one, a lovely book that came out a while ago, but I'm not sure that many people have really read it. It's Speaking Tiger, and this one is called Kwaidan, Stories of Ghosts and Other Strange Things. It's part of a series that Ruskin Bond has recommended, and he's done a set of books for Speaking Tiger, where he has, they called the Classics with Ruskin series, which means they're books written very many years ago, and but recommended by Ruskin and contemporized for new age readers. This, written by Lafcadio Han, is a classic collection of spooky stories Archana Atri, Puffin Book of Spooky Ghost Stories by Jerry Pinto. Yes, we have a single copy of that one, Archana Atri. We would have definitely not not been without putting that one. However, we just managed to get one copy from the publisher through their distributors. So, not making a recommendation, but it's certainly there at our bazaar. Now, this one, Kwaidan, it brings to you strange stories and really wonderfully ghostly stories from old Japanese legends. And by God, the Japs really had bizarre ghostly stories to, tell. These cultures and traditions, that have ghosts and monsters and spooks of all shapes and sizes. This one features many, many such hair-raising tales in which humans, in fact, there are some in which humans and ghosts even coexist. Come on, guys, all you lovers of Japanese fiction, Japanese anime, you do know what kind of, writing sensibilities that they have. And Kwaidan really reflects, a very different kind of spooky stories set in coming to us from another culture. Very, very well. This is definitely going to leave young readers, and again we'd say ages 10 up, quite spellbound. I know we have a bunch of new arrivals to recommend, but we'll do 3 more books that are meant for older readers. And there's one called Faces in the Water. Again, a book that features ghosts, but also that also tells a very, very meaningful story. This one by Ranjit Lal, that's the winner of the Crossword Award, winner of the Lardli National Media Award, is a story, and I won't say a wonderful story, is a story of something that happens in our society ever so often: female infanticide. Trust a writer with the skill of Ranjit Lal to pick up that serious theme and write it as a story meant for, let's say, 10 plus year olds. And why are we featuring this at Spooks and Smiles Bazaar? Because there's a young boy who goes back from, I think he's based in Delhi, the Divan Chand family that is based in Delhi, goes one vacation from Delhi to their farmhouse, and at the farmhouse he discovers his sisters who have been snuffed even before they were born as ghosts that are looking up a well. That's why Faces in the Water. What an excellent story that at once, and it's not, Ranjit has a characteristic humorous style of writing, and it's a story that, children will certainly appreciate, will certainly, learn to look beyond the surface to understand like the deeper stories that are within these stories. It's a poignant and a very, very powerful tale. We would recommend this for 10 plus year olds, published by Penguin India and priced at 250 rupees. 2 quick recommendations before we get on to our new arrivals. This one by Andalib Wajid is a hot favorite at Funky Rainbow. We would recommend this again for 11, 12 plus year olds. This is The Legend of the Wolf. And look at its tagline: he's alive and he's hunting again. Guys, grab those mugs of cocoa. This is, or coffee or whatever else that you want to drink. Padma Baliga, you say Faces in the Water was a brave book and a much needed one. Absolutely, so well said. A book that is really needed today, especially for children to know of different things that happen around us. No better way to introduce this to children than by books. And books, fortunately, always give us a chance to set things right above anything else. And I really do believe that, our young readers, especially 11 plus, should be reading Ranjit Lal's books. But back to Andalib's The Legend of the Wolf, which is the story of 3 friends, Madhu, Gaurav, and Sunil, who go off on a school trip to the hills of Chikmagalur, just off Bangalore. And And what happens? They're all staying in a guest house, and there is a wolf that comes visiting the guest house, or it's a lodge basically, every single day. What is the lodge? It's basically like a dilapidated old bungalow, and the teenagers realize, much to their horror, that it is haunted. And why is the wolf coming back every single day? Who is this creature? What is the story that's tucked away in these hills and forests? My God, it's a heart pounding, suspenseful read. It keeps you turning the pages till the last page. And Andali Wajid's really got a cracking plot and some fantastic haunting in the books that will keep you awake all night for sure. We would recommend this for 13 plus year olds, and it's priced at 250 rupees, published by Speaking Tiger. Our last recommendation before we go into the new arrivals segment, and I know we're out of time, so we'll quickly run through it, is this wow anthology. In just one word, it says it all. It's called horror. It's definitely the oldest and most strongest of our emotions, right? It's the emotion that makes us so scared of everything, really fear. And this spine-tingling collection of horror stories, and it's there in mixed formats. There's Siddhartha Sharma with Hive. There's Satadru Mukherjee with Wives' Tale. There's The Night Bus by Ankuta Ghosh. In fact, our guest for the day, who had this charming haha story called Moo Done It, has what is, in my opinion, the most nail-biting story in this collection, C.G. Salamander's The Textbook. My God. And it's a mix. You can see that, there are stories, and it's not hard to read. They're like fairly short stories, very, very nicely designed book. Also some graphic, stories. And I love this, reverse typesetting in black of some of the pages. So some of the pages are white and, text in black, and some of the pages are black with text in white, just adding so much, so much of horror more to the book. There are some graphic stories as well, and this anthology from Scholastic really showcasing some of our finest contemporary fictional voices. So for those of you with a gut for horror, I'd say go for this one, priced at 299 rupees and published by Scholastic India. So that was a collection of spooky stories and smiley stories for children of all age groups, going from one, starting as young as one, going up to 18 years. There are many, many other books, in the bazaar. So please do go to our website, www.funkyrainbow.com, click on the tag that says bazaar, and the drop down that will say Spooks and Smiles. There are at least another 35-40 books that are featured there, many of which are anthologies that feature one or two ghost stories. Not all of them are entirely all spooky stories, but some fantastic books up in our Spooks and Smiles bazaar. And we really want you this Halloween, Shantanu Datta Gupta, this book is one I'm super proud of. Yes, and super horrified, if I should say so. Really, it really makes your spine tingle, this one. Some of the graphic novels, there was one, the graphic story that I read all the way back home. The only thing I could do was to think about one of those stories, one of the stories in this horror anthology. So indeed, a collection that you should be proud of, Shantanu Datta Gupta. I am going to, yes, of course. So what do I want to say? Spook up your weekend, folks. Really get under those blankets, take those hot mugs of coffee or milk or cocoa or whatever, and dig into these ghastly, ghastly collection that we have lined up for you. We did have some Vikram and Vetal ones as well. We're not able to speak about it, but all of you are familiar with the Vikram and Vetal stories. And again, we have a clutch of them for different age groups. And with that, we move to our new arrivals segment, which will just very, very quickly So we will very, very quickly run you through our new arrivals for the day, because a lot of you have written in the last couple of weeks saying, where are the new arrivals? We're missing them. And we're like, we're not going to go. You can't get rid of the ghost of Funky Rainbow without presenting the new arrivals to you. So the thing is, this time, really surprisingly, and we largely and almost entirely focus on Indian children's books, but this time all the new arrivals are foreign books, and I'm going to very quickly run you through a clutch of them. This one, for the first time, Julia Donaldson translated into Hindi, Tamil, Bengali, and a host of other languages. We have chosen two books, Gruffalo, as you already know. I mean, in keeping with the theme of our spooky bazaar, and Room on a Broom as well, which features a lovely witch. These ones brought out by Pan Macmillan, and we presently have the Hindi versions are delightful, translations of beloved Julia Donaldson's favorite stories. So those of you who want to get your kids reading in Hindi, in Tamil, and we do know that the translator of one of the translators of the series who translated in the books into Tamil, Vijay Lakshmi Nagaraj, is there with us at the show today. We don't have the Tamil copies yet, but the Hindi ones of Julia Donaldson's Gruffalo and Room on a Broom, both here with us, in Hindi. Really lovely, picture books for the youngest of readers. Our next recommendation is a writer that we never knew had done books for children. This is Dan Brown, the world-renowned Dan Brown, who I still distinctly remember one time that I was coming back from the US, and when the customs asked me to open my suitcases up in Madras, the only question they asked me is, do you have Dan Brown's book? And I was like, wow, that makes a writer really famous, basically. But he has this excellent picture book for children called Wild Symphony, and as you've already guessed, it's a musical book, but it's not just musical. There are lovely things to do virtually on every page of the book, little mysteries that need to be solved. So this is Dan Brown, with his Maestro Mouse, who is his protagonist, and a giant symphonic surprise. So, sorry, I forgot to mention the prices. The Julia Donaldson books are priced at 250 rupees each, and Dan Brown's book, which is a fantastic hardback, priced at 699 rupees. We have a most beloved writer's book next, Neil Gaiman and Chris Riddell. And gosh, who doesn't love the Neil Gaiman and Chris Riddell combinations, with his latest book, which he wrote during lockdown for his daughter, who was, and I saw an interview with Neil Gaiman where he says, his wife and daughter were, stuck in New Zealand, and he was stuck in the UK, and because he was missing her, wrote this fantastic book called Pirate Stew. So, of course, knowing Gaiman, this is what it is. Pirate stew, eat it, and you won't be blue. In fact, you can be a pirate too. Wonderful, lovely book for young readers with delightful illustrations by Chris Riddell. And we know there's possibly, all the big awards that Gaiman has won, the Carnegie Award, Newbery Medal winner, and Chris Riddell too, the Greenway Medal winner. This fantastic book, Pirate Stew, published by Bloomsbury and priced at 450 rupees. We have three delightful books, again, from an author that we almost didn't know wrote books for children, and this is Jeffrey Archer. It was thanks to Priya Kurian, who put out a post saying that she has illustrated one of Jeffrey Archer's books for children, and that's this one called By Royal Appointment, illustrated by Priya Kurian. There's also Willie Visits the Square World, and there is Willie and the Killer Kipper. This is an internationally best-selling author. All three books illustrated by Indian illustrators. So this one is by Anupama Ajinkya Apte, and I mean, two of them by Anupama Ajinkya Apte and one by Priya Kurian. So, of course, delightful. And these are sort of chapter books. You can see, quite a lot of text, but fairly large illustrations as well. So we would again pitch it, to the 7 to 9 year olds, each one priced at 299 rupees. Three new children's books from an author none of us, I think, knew that he had written books for children. This one at Funky Rainbow, available at Funky Rainbow. Like I said, one of the authors whose books really took us by surprise. And my final new arrivals recommendation, an author whose first book that we really loved, The Monster Who Wasn't, in keeping with the theme of the Spooks and Smiles Bazaar. This is T.C. Shelley's first book, The Monster Who Wasn't, and I can't tell you how much we enjoyed reading this one. It's a story of a monster who's strange, but he's half a laugh and half a sigh. In fact, he looks like a human boy. It's a really lovely, story. And this one is not really the new arrival. It's the sequel, The Werewolves Who Weren't. That is a brand new arrival on our shelves. And, shapeshifters, monsters, fairies, ghosts, werewolves, they all populate the pages of T.C. Shelley's exciting books, two of them. And I would urge you to sort of read them one after the other because they are just so delightful. They probably make you go oops and ulp and eeks and shriek, but they also make you go ha ha he. They're published by Bloomsbury and priced at 299 rupees each. So those were our, absolutely brand new arrivals on Funky Rainbow's shelves. It is extraordinary that there has been a week where we've only had books by foreign writers. It's only a small smattering of books by foreign writers that we have, but we just felt these had to be showcased because of how delightful they were. Now, we will, of course, say hello to all our friends. Muttama wants me to remind you that we do have the Bookwali Diwali packs, which are packs that we've come up to be, given as Diwali gifts. There is an ongoing campaign. Please do go to our site, www.funkyrainbow.com. There are 8 different gift packs for children of different ages, as well as for adults. I mean, for middle grade readers, for chapter book readers, for adults, and for the entire family. Light up someone's Diwali with a gift of books. Please do consider picking them up from Funky Rainbow. And as you can see on the screen, different packs coming up for you to see that we have them for different age groups. Dinesh Nambiar, Apurva Ashok, Bijoya Raman, Anasuya Mishra from the Teachers Collective, Solly Joseph, Nancy Raj, Kaveri Bojanna, Nilu Kulkarni from Pugmarks. Yes, Divya Menon, thank you so much, Funky Rainbow, for the absolute delightful and wonderful session today. Would like to thank everyone for their kind words and encouragement for Avyukt. We really have to put our hands together, both for Aaron Sham Clark and for Avyukt Nair, for simply stealing the show at our bazaar today. Thank you, Divya, for, always accommodating our last minute harebrained ideas. Kaveri Bojanna, the traveling bookseller, Nilu Kulkarni from Pugmarks, Eleanor Desire, Moses Sia, Sunila Kulkarni Gupte, Anam Fatima, Bindya Parwani, Tara Veeraraghavan, Kavita Prasad, Grey Matters, what a pleasure, Manoj Narayan, Muttama's son, Kavita Nehemiah, 26 Umme, M. Pranoti, Musings of Moi, HI2, Mini Vaid. What a pleasure, Mini. How lovely to see you at our bazaar. We do quite love your, book on the women of ISRO, and we're so delighted that you have joined us at the bazaar. Creative drawing for children. And any others? Gayatri Mambra, Quirky Girl, Khushbu, Sukanya Sinha, Natraj, T4 Tales, Shanaz Hanif, Bijal Vivi, Anasuya, Method in My Madness, and sorry, Samrat Banerjee. And thank you so much, Method in My Madness. We would like to end saying that there is method in all the madness that Funky Rainbow celebrates. Thank you so much, guys, for joining us at our Spooks and Smiles Bazaar. Absolutely, we hope there are tricks and treats full of books coming your way this weekend. Thank you so much. Oh, sorry, a couple of more people. Sandhya Rajgopal, Sindhu Pillai, Samrat Banerjee, and Divya Purandar. Friends old and new, thank you so much for joining us at our Spooks and Smiles Book Bazaar. Bye-bye and stay spirited.